Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, I'm back and it is Sunday, July 26th, and it is 9:32 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, let's get on with it. I have been off for the last 2 nights and I do apologize. Many of you know that I have a spinal injury and I've done something to greatly aggravate it. So I've literally been in bed for the last 2 days, and I mean in bed. Now I have been doing some research and stuff, but I've also been on painkillers, which I really hate taking. And so my mind has been a little bit fuzzy, but I'm now able to sit up and I've got off of what I was taking. So I think my mind is clear enough to be able to resume doing my show, which is great news for me because I really miss it when I don't do it. So what we're going to be doing tonight is catching up with the news, and I do have some people to thank that I want to go ahead and do right now in case I forget. And they are Journey and Ron. Now, they are the founders of Rafa Rub. I've mentioned them before, and they're working on a new website and so forth. So you'll be able to go out there soon and look at their products. Now, they sent me a good selection of their products, and I've tried them all. They have a little rub that you rub on, and it very much helps with pain. In fact, I've been using it over the last 2 days in addition to everything else I've been doing. So anyway, they sent a very nice donation via coffee, and I thank you very much. Also, Anon, thank you, Anon. I don't know who you are, but somebody does, and you're important to them, and you're important to me too. And we have another Anon down here as well. And also we have Triple H, Heather H from Houston. She sent a donation via coffee. And Mary Eckert, I hope I pronounced that right, Mary. And I thank you guys very, very much. Now, I have something embarrassing to say. Well, it's embarrassing to me, really it is, because somebody sent me this beautiful, it's a boomerang, obviously, and it's handmade in Australia, but it was sent to me by somebody in the States, but they sent it in a box, and there was like a little letter in there. Well, I threw the box away thinking that I had got the little note out, and I didn't. And so now I don't have the name, and I'm embarrassed because this was a very, very nice gift. I actually want to take it out to a park somewhere and try it out. So as soon as my back is better, I want to do that because, you know, somewhere where I'm not liable to break it, somewhere where there's lots of grass, but I can't wait because I've never actually used a boomerang before. I've used a Frisbee, but that's not the same thing. So anyway, I just think that that's really neat because was it 2020 is the year of the boomerang? Isn't that what Q said? Anyway, so all right, let's go on with and if you are the person that sent me this lovely gift, please let me know in the comments or let me know somehow, send me an email, something, because I really do want to thank you properly because I appreciated it very, very much. So, all right, well, we are moving ahead now, and we are just going to, I've got a ton of things that I've collected over the last few days. So I'm just going to go until I can't go any further, and I might be up to 2 videos tonight. I'm just going to have to see how my back does, but so far so good. I'm nice and comfy here. All right, so let's look at this. This is a little bit, well, it's very odd, and at first I thought that this was just a strange little news item, so I pulled it out to look at. Well, I'm running across more and more and more of this. More people across the United States are receiving these mysterious little packages of seeds, and they're coming from China. And apparently, you know, they're seeds, and, you know, probably thinking that people will plant them. But apparently, it's very dangerous what's inside. It will destroy I don't know. Anyway, let's see if this tells us exactly. Hang on here. Why is this not? This won't unmute itself. Very strange. There we go. Now let's listen.
Well, most of the reports we've heard are here in Tooele. Most people, they don't make much of it. They look at the package, they throw it away, they go about their day. But the state says that is not what you should do. They want to investigate.
Checked my mail, opened my mailbox, and I was like, oh, yay, I got some packages.
This woman says she didn't remember ordering anything from China.
I hope that it's nothing too serious.
The label said earrings, but something else was inside.
Now, I do want to say, this says mysterious seeds sent from China to Utah. Utah is not the only state now receiving these mysterious packages. All the packages say jewelry, but when you look inside, it's actually seeds. And apparently, from what I understand, these seeds are very dangerous to plant because they are dangerous to our ecosystem here. They uproot other plants, or I'm not exactly sure what they do, but apparently they're dangerous. They want you to take these to the authorities if you receive any of these seeds because they need to be destroyed properly. They are dangerous to our, our crops and so forth. So anyway.
Well, obviously they're not jewelry. And I opened them up and they were seeds.
But why would there be mislabeled seeds from
packages?
China in her mailbox?
Oh my God.
She didn't think much of it at first. Then she found out this is something the State Department of Agriculture is investigating seriously. She got some stern advice.
Just don't throw them in the garbage, don't plant them, don't touch them.
Plants and seeds in Utah are regulated strictly, which is why agents with Customs and Border Protection could also become involved in the investigation.
And there was an article that I found from the UK saying that this has been happening over there, and they are bad seeds. They are invasive.
When she posted about it online, she found out, one by one,
these 3 are from my daughter.
quite a few people had the same story and might have been so curious what the seeds were, they planted them to find out.
I would say at least 40 people. I mean, there's even a possibility it could be a drug or something.
The Better Business Bureau is planting a different idea. It's too early to say, but this could just be a scam where some companies will send you a product so they can post a fake review in your name.
That is rather random. I don't think I've heard of seeds before. So the first thing to do is to Google your address and see what's out there.
Hopefully that's all it is, but
I don't think so.
We just can't be too vigilant. We have to. There's too much crazy stuff going on in our world anymore, and a lot of it's coming from China.
The next step is to take the seeds to a laboratory. From there, they will figure out what they are and what else needs to be done. Of course, people are concerned. They don't know what to think. The Department of Agriculture says, look, if this has happened to you, if this story sounds familiar, give them a call so they can come by and pick up your mail.
Yeah, and this is the first story that I saw, but since then there's been a bunch of things come out, like even on Twitter people are saying, I got these packages in the mail and it said jewelry, but I opened it, it's seeds. Well, they're saying not to plant that because it's invasive, it will kill the other plant life in the area. And could that be what China wants, that people may be curious enough to plant these? Because to tell you the truth, if it was sent to me from somewhere that I had no idea, I might be curious enough to plant them just because that's me. I'm a curious person. But if coming from China, I don't think I would trust them. Not at all. So I don't know. But if any of you guys have received these seeds, let us know in the comments below, because I'd really like to hear from somebody, a listener that has received these, and what you were told to do with them or what you did with them personally. Because this is happening more and more, and I'm seeing it on Twitter as well. There are people claiming that they've received these packages. So it's not just Utah. There's a lot of other states that are receiving them as well. All right, well, let's go back now and go on. And I can't remember what this is now.
We have to invest more money in dealing with pandemic research, dealing with viruses, dealing with studies relating to what these viruses are likely to be in the future. There's more than one coronavirus. This COVID-9 is one strain of that.
Yeah, That was the whole bit about him calling COVID-19 COVID-9. And he sounded, fairly with it there, but then he comes to, and he calls it COVID-9. I don't know. I think that Joe Biden is in a lot of trouble with his memory. I really do. And I don't think it's an act. I don't. A lot of people have said, oh, he's just acting. He knows that, what's coming and whatever. But I don't believe that, because if that's acting, if what he's doing is acting, because you can see at times when he'll go to say something, he'll just stop and he'll look scared, like, what do I say next? And I don't know. It's just be very difficult to fake that, I think, personally. Okay, let's go back now. And yes, this is something that I think we need to be aware of. And I'm a little bit nervous about talking about this, because I think that it'll put a target on my back here in terms of censoring. Anyway, aborted, I'm going to call it petal. Aborted petal tissue in V's. Babies are born alive at 5 to 6 months old with beating hearts and no anesthesia. Now, this is what is in our V's. This is very important interview between Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Teresa Deisher regarding the use of human petal tissue to culture viruses for V's, because Dr. Deisher reveals that human DNA fragments are found in V's. And we know that's true. I've been hearing that for years. Most of the COVID vaccines being developed are using petal tissue to culture the CV. One of the most interesting questions Mr. Kennedy asked Dr. Deisher was why the manufacturers of V's switched from exclusively using animal tissue to culture viruses for vaccines to start using aborted petal tissue some years back. Dr. Deisher's reply was that the industry, we're getting a lot of pressure from the animals' rights movements. So they were getting a lot of, pressure from the animal rights movements, as I'm sure they really were, because not a lot of people, many people don't like to see animal used for that type of experimentation. But anyway, that's why they were getting pressure from that. But nobody really cares if it's aborted tissue. Nobody seems to be up in arms about that, which is surprising. Mr. Kennedy was shocked and stated, it's kind of weird to think that animal rights activists have more clout with the V companies than do the anti-abortion activists. Dr. Deisher, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Dr. Deisher replied, they do, and you know what's really alarming is the lack of outcry over human babies born alive at 5 to 6 months old so that their hearts can be obtained beating. Yeah, and they have to be beating to be used in the research that's being done. Yeah. If the heart has stopped beating, it's not useful. You cannot use it. And so these babies are delivered alive, and their hearts cut out without anesthesia. I wouldn't do that to a mouse. On June 15th, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. interviewed the founder and president of Sound Choice Pharmaceutical Institute, Dr. Teresa Deisher, on the use of petal tissues in vaccines. Mr. Kennedy and Dr. Deisher covered a wide range of topics, including which V's contain petal tissue, with the existing research tells us in terms of health risks and what alternatives might be used in place of human DNA in V's. So Dr. Deisher is a genetic engineer with over 20 years experience in the pharmaceutical industry, from basic human biology through clinical trials. Dr. Deisher obtained her PhD in molecular and cellular physiology from Stanford University and has spent over 20 years in commercial biotechnology. Prior to founding AVM Biotechnology and Sound Choice Pharmaceutical Institute, she worked with leading biotechnology companies including Genentech, Repligen, Zymogenetics, Immunex, and Amgen. Dr. Deisher is an inventor on 23 issued U.S. patents, and her discoveries have led to clinical trials of FGF18 for osteoarthritis and cartilage repair, and for factor 13 for surgical bleeding. Dr. Deischer was the first person to discover adult cardiac-derived stem cells and has been a champion of adult stem cell research, both professionally and privately, for 2 decades. Dr. Deischer was a plaintiff in the U.S. federal lawsuit to prohibit use of federal taxpayer dollars for embryo destructive research, which was instrumental in steering science toward adult stem cell research, which has led to 14 U.S. FDA-approved adult stem cell products, and the Washington Post December 2013 headline, "Scientists Go Ethical in 2013." AVM Biotechnology is the marquee pro-life biotech company worldwide, certifying that it does not use morally illicit material in any process, as CPI's mission is to end human trafficking in biomedical research. Well, that is a very good aim, but unfortunately, that is what they're using in a lot of these. They're using pedal tissue obtained from living fetuses who have their heart removed without anesthesia. Now, yes, everybody's up in arms about the animals being used in research, but why isn't anybody up in arms about this? You would think that that would be first and foremost, but whenever it seems to touch on abortion in any way, then it's like, oh, it's a woman's right. It's a woman's right, so you don't touch that. But okay, an abortion's one thing, but and certainly I am not for abortion, but you know, I am pro-life in all sense of the word. But yeah, that we're talking about something completely different. Those babies feel pain. They feel pain. All right. So let's go on now and continue on. Yeah, this is tragic, to say the very, very least. Very tragic. Now, this from the District Herald. Black man known for standing outside with "Vote Trump" signs murdered in broad daylight. When they say Black Lives Matter, it is clear the left does not mean black lives like the one of Bernal Trammell. It's tragic. What did this man do to anybody? Just voicing his opinion. You know, but they murdered him. Broad daylight. Trammell was well known in his Milwaukee community for being an outspoken advocate for President Donald Trump. He would spend his days out in the heat at City Hall or in his neighborhood with his homemade signs urging people to re-elect the president in November. On Thursday afternoon, the 60-year-old activist was fatally shot in broad daylight outside his business, Expression Publications. The storefront was covered in signs with Bible verses along with "Vote Donald Trump 2020" and "Re-elect Trump 2020. The suspect reportedly drove up, shot him, and drove away. Law enforcement sources told the Dan O'Donnell Show that they do not yet know the motive for the murder since they have not made any arrests, but detectives are investigating the possibility that Trammell was killed over his political beliefs. Well, what else was he going to be killed over? I'm pretty sure that it was because he was holding a "Elect Donald Trump" sign. He was making himself a target. Not that that should, you know, they're trying, this is domestic terrorism. They're trying to terrorize people. They're trying to make people kowtow and be afraid of wearing a Trump 2020 t-shirt or a hat, a MAGA hat, or what have you, or letting people know of your political opinions because this might happen to you. Anyway, Reggie Moore, Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention Director, told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that it had intervened in a dispute between Trammell and a young man that he thought was related to a Trump sign that Trammell was carrying. It is unclear if the altercation was a factor in his death. I had an interaction with him last Saturday across the street from Walmart on Capitol Drive. One woman who did not wish to be identified told the radio show it was the second time I had seen him with his Trump sign, and I pulled my car over to chat with him. What a nice, friendly man. We chatted for several minutes, and I told him I was proud of him, and he's very brave to put himself out there so visibly as a Trump supporter. Heavy.com reports that a man named Kevin Penvose wrote on Facebook that Trammell was a man with whom I hardly ever agreed about anything he wrote on his signs, but also as a Rasta street preacher, he was one of the people that make my neighborhood so uniquely wonderful. Around 12:30 this afternoon, I heard gunshots nearby as I was working at my dining room table. Soon after, I was reading reports on social media of a shooting around the block at the location of this one-of-a-kind storefront that I've walked by a million times, Peace and Light, Ras Burnell. Anyone with information of the murder of Trammell is being urged to contact the Milwaukee Police Department. So, tragic. What did this man do to anybody? Nothing. Out there holding a sign, showing his love of Trump, of our president, and for that, probably for that, he was killed. We're living in perilous times. We really are. All right. Now, let's look at this. All right. Liberals threaten to destroy our cities if we re-elect Trump in November. I think that's a threat. I think that's probably a very accurate threat, because I think that's exactly what they'll do. I don't think this rioting is just going to stop when Trump is elected. I say when he's elected, because if Joe Biden's elected, I mean, we know. I don't know. I think there's going to be unrest no matter what happens in November, because if Biden got in there, everybody would be absolutely, because we would know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that election was rigged. We would know that, because I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to vote for Biden, except for hardcore Democrats that just hate Trump so much that they say, well, I don't care who we put in there as long as it's not Trump. But if Trump wins, do you think the other side's just going to roll over and play dead? I don't think so. And if they are threatening to destroy our cities, they're already destroying our cities. Some of them, the Democrat cities anyway. So, yeah, I take them seriously. In the lead up to the 2016 election, liberals, mostly celebrities, threatened to move out of the U.S. if Trump won. Trump's election called their bluff in a big way, as not a single one of those crybabies actually left. Now with the 2020 election approaching, liberals know we're onto them and are no longer temper tantruming to leave, but rather threatening to destroy every single city in the country. This is one of the ways Trump derangement syndrome has changed the left over the last 4 years. Senior editor of The Atlantic, Ronald Brownstein, wrote a piece that is pretty much a ransom letter saying vote Biden or we'll torch all the cities. Amazingly enough, he wrote it on a computer and not with letters cut out of the newspaper. First, Brownstein tried to establish that it's all Trump's fault that the leftists are going apeshit in cities across the land. New offensives against major cities from President Donald Trump and GOP governors are pushing at the central geographic fault line between the Republican and Democratic coalitions. On one front, Trump is taking his confrontational approach toward big cities to an ominous new level by deploying federal law enforcement officials to Portland and potentially other locales over the objection of local officials. Well, that's because the local officials aren't doing their job. If they do their job, then Trump wouldn't have to go in there. Now, would he? But there's other citizens that are in danger that are not in agreement with this. Just stand back and let them burn everything down. Oh, just stand back, let them burn and loot and destroy our community's stores that we shop at and our grocery stores and take our jobs, because these now are all places that can't employ anyone because they're burnt to the ground. Only in the head of a liberal kook is President Trump sending law enforcement officers to enforce the law as an offensive. Everywhere else, we call this maintaining law and order. In deploying federal forces, Trump appears to be trying to provoke clashes with protesters, which he can used to convince white suburban voters that he's the last line of defense between them and the chaos allegedly incubating in cities. Rahm Emanuel, the former Chicago mayor, told me, considering how bad the crime exploded in Chicago under Emanuel, perhaps he's not the expert the Atlantic thinks he is. I could say that again. Trump's alarms about the angry mobs and violent mayhem in Democratic cities might allow him to recapture some Republican-leaning white suburbanites and energize his rural and small-town support. Analysts in both parties told me the larger political implication of these battles is to deepen the sense that the nation is hardening into antagonistic camps separated by an imaginary border that circles all of the major population centers, dividing the metropolitan core from the less densely settled places beyond. Trump is determined to widen that trench. He is trying to rally Red America by portraying blue cities as a threat and then positioning himself as a human wall against them. Well, they are a threat. Every single Democrat-run city is a mess. It is an absolute hellhole. Really, there's no other way to describe it. Trump doesn't have to portray liberal cities as a threat or himself as a wall against them. I don't know if Brownstein watches the news, but in many cities in this country, leftist terrorists have taken over the streets, and the liberal mayors and governors have not only allowed it, but encouraged it. And finally, the threat. But in these final months before the November election, Trump's deployment of federal troops is transforming his political war on big cities into something much closer to the real thing. It's breathtaking, and it's dangerous, said Emanuel, the former Chicago mayor. And if Trump wins a second term, especially if that victory relies on another rural surge to overcome massive opposition across the big metros, the chaos in Portland might look only the preliminary skirmish for an even more incendiary collision to come. You can look at this in a variety of ways. None of them is good. First, Brownstein is saying we'd all better vote for Biden or his side is going to burn down cities. Next, Brownstein is admitting that the left is already prepared to not accept the results of a free and fair election. Lastly, Brownstein is engaging in voter intimidation and trying to influence the results of the 2020 election with his girly temper tantrum. As we near the November election, we should once again call liberals bluff and re-elect Donald Trump. The last thing the left actually wants is a civil war because they will get their clocks cleaned. It's one thing to tear up a city with a liberal mayor who allows it, and another to take on tens of millions of patriotic armed Americans who are sick of their crap. And I really think the majority of Americans are sick of this crap and sick of seeing lawlessness parading through our cities, just absolute lawlessness. And nothing's being done about it. The mayors are just like, oh, well, let them have the police precinct. Let them burn it down. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go on because there's more. There's always more. Okay. Now, let's look at this as something really bizarre. This is from LifeSite. Canadian Health Department okays strangers having sex if they wear masks and don't look at each other. I know. You're saying, Michelle, you're making that up. I know. You're thinking that, aren't you? No. That's the insanity we live in here. The British Columbia Centre for Disease Control insists that the only advisable restriction on sexual behavior during COVID pandemic is that people shouldn't face each other. All right. So you can't face one another and you got to wear a mask. And if you do that, oh yeah, it's fine to have sex with strangers, apparently, according to them. British Columbia, July 24th, 2020, the British Columbia Centre for Disease Control has published a list of suggestions on how to increase the safety of sexual intimacy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Although many of the items tacitly endorse casual sex with strangers, The BC CDC's COVID-19 and sex page sets the tone for the advice to come with a declaration that messages that discourage or shame people from sexual contact can be harmful and may discourage people from seeking essential sexual health services. The page then explains that while it's unclear whether semen can transmit the coronavirus, any sexual contact can spread it via touching and transfer of saliva through kissing. After stating the obvious that the virus cannot spread through self-masturbation or via the internet, the agency acknowledges that the risk of catching COVID-19 increases alongside a person's number of sexual partners, yet it does not declare any firm boundaries on the subject. The BC CDC then offers a list of measures one can take to protect oneself during sexual activity, including washing before and after, asking partners about their health, keeping their contact information on hand to notify them of any change in diagnosis, and the use of condoms. Most controversial, the page lists a variety of measures to reduce or eliminate every aspect of sex other than genital contact. Wearing masks, avoiding kissing, choosing positions in which partners don't face one another, and the use of barriers like walls. Example, glory holes. Yes, you heard that right. That allow for sexual contact but prevent close face-to-face contact. I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking right now, but I bet you are. Notably, most of the potential dangers identified by the BC CDC are non-issues for married couples who tend to contract the same ailments with or without sex because they live together, and spouses tend to be regularly appraised of each other's health status. The double standard between uncompromising restrictions on religious assembly and economic activity on one hand and the high prioritization of sexual gratification on the other has been a recurring element of the COVID-19 response. In the United States, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Director Dr. Anthony Fauci, who had previously declared, "I don't think we should ever shake hands again," and said it was tough to say people should stop sexual hookups via dating apps because everyone has their own tolerance for risks and it's your choice. Also, in the U.S., the New York City Health Department released a list of sex guidelines similar to the BC CDC's, which contained several of the same recommendations, along with the suggestion to make it a little kinky. Okay, sure. Tell me this is really about a virus. Right. I believe you. Thousands wouldn't, but I do. Okay, let's go on. Now this says it's very important, so definitely have to hit on this. Yes, this is the most eye-opening thing I've seen in a very long time. This cartoon was made in 2016. And look, and right here, I'm going to make this bigger. Right here, you can see she's in what used to be a stadium, but it's all grown over. Now, I don't know. I guess they're gardening there, or maybe these plants and things have just sprung up organically because it's not been in use for a long time, but she's in this stadium, okay? And let's pay attention to this here.
Coliseum with breaking news about the infectious virus. Let's shoot it over to a local expert for more.
All research certainly backs Scott up. It isn't the animals. They have absolutely no connection to the virus. I'm also happy to announce that we've discovered
A vaccine. No longer have to live in fear.
because we're about to kick this dirty little virus back to the stone age.
Coliseum.
So here she's reporting, and the Coliseum, it's all empty. And why is it empty? Because nobody's going to sports arenas anymore, I guess, in this film because or this cartoon, because of the virus. And so she's reporting on air. Then it goes to all these people. It goes to the news. And let's go to here. And it says respiratory virus epidemic is about to be eliminated. Why? Why is it about to be eliminated? Because they've discovered a vaccine, and they report it to all the people who begin to take their masks off. oh, we're free. It says something clinical experiment. Scientists have found a way to eliminate the virus. And let me see what else here. To eliminate, the city will, and this is 10/13. I don't know. November 13? I don't know. But it's interesting. Domestic biological head, Dr. Huang, and
They have absolutely no connection to the virus.
And now he's saying the animals have no connection to the virus, because we were told that it came from a bat, right? Now all these people are looking up at this television screen that's up on this high rise, and they're listening to what is being said, and they all begin to take their masks off. Oh, the cure's here.
I'm also happy to announce that we discovered a vaccine.
And it gets very quiet there. We've discovered, and you hear it very quietly, a vaccine. Everybody starts taking their masks off, and they're smiling.
We no longer have to live in fear.
We no longer have to live in fear, the announcer says. And on this sign it says LOZ. Laws. I don't know what that means. What does this say? I would love to know what this cartoon is and where it came from, because I'd like to pay attention to it, but I don't know. I just saw it on Facebook. I watched it and I was literally so taken aback. I sent it to so many people because I thought, oh my gosh, this is in 2016. So
Get back to that normal life, because we're about to kick this dirty little virus back to the stone age.
and then it gets so low I can't hear it. They said we're about to send the dirty little virus back to, and I can't hear what he says. But if anyone knows what this cartoon is, please let us know in the comments below, because I want to find this cartoon. I don't know if it's just one or if it's a series or what, but I'd like to investigate it further. So if anyone knows or can tell me where this came from, I would really appreciate it. But you've gotta admit, that's pretty gobsmacking. And this is not the only thing that shows that this virus was planned. It's been planned for a long time. All right, so let's go down to, let's go back and see what else we have to get into here. Now, I noticed that they're starting to, oh, come on, stupid thing. Backtrack the mask policy in Walmart and places like that. Walmart, Home Depot, and other retailers walk back face mask mandates will serve maskless customers. Well, I wish that that would be the case here in Canada, because wearing a mask is just, especially in this summer heat, unbearable. Some of the biggest U.S. retailers have instituted mandatory mask policies over the past 2 weeks to combat the spread of COVID-19, including Walmart. The Business Roundtable, an associate of CEOs from some of America's biggest corporations, called for companies to require face mask mandates for customers of retail locations and restaurants. However, a week later, many companies are walking back their mask mandates following several highly publicized incidents centered around wearing face coverings. Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Home Depot, Lowe's, and other nationwide retailers said they would serve customers even if they violate mask mandates, according to CNN. The change in policy is to prevent confrontations between customers and employees. The companies want to avoid negative publicity and potential violence stemming from customers refusing to wear face masks in stores. This comes after multiple events where customers became irate, including one instance where a man brandished a gun at a Walmart employee because of the mask mandate. Florida man threatened to kill a fellow shopper at the Walmart in Royal Palm Beach on July 12th. The man, Vincent Bruce Scavetta, was arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and improper exhibition of a firearm, according to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Earlier this month, two women, confronted a man in a store because he wasn't wearing a face mask. A woman trashed a Target store in Arizona because of the mask mandate. A Texas woman was angry that a 7-Eleven convenience store required face coverings, so she spit all over the counter. An incident of the maskless Florida man clashing with a Walmart employee in Orlando went viral in June. In May, there was a tense encounter between a man who refused to wear a mask and a Costco worker. 2 California men were caught on video attacking a Target security guard because he told them to wear a mask. A Walmart training video recommends that its employees deal with anti-mask customers by letting them continue to shop and avoid any physical altercation. With every requirement, there are exceptions that have been established to avoid escalating the situation and putting our associates in harm's way, a Walmart representative told CNN. Our goal is to keep associates from a physical confrontation in the stores. We will not ask our associates to put their safety at risk by confronting customers about wearing masks, a Lowe's spokesperson said. Home Depot said its mask policy is like the company's shoplifting policy, and no employee should put themselves in danger. It's too dangerous to forcibly or physically deny entry, a spokesperson for the home improvement company said. In the event of non-compliance, the store will expedite their transaction and provide them with other options for their future needs, such as delivery and drive-through, CVS said. On Friday, McDonald's announced that starting on August 1st, everyone is required to wear a face mask when visiting any of its restaurants. In order to protect the safety of our employees and customers, we will ask all customers to wear face coverings when entering our U.S. restaurants effective August 1st. McDonald's said in the press release, while nearly 82% of our restaurants are in states or localities that require facial coverings for both crew and customers today, it's important we protect the safety of all employees and customers. McDonald's added that employees would receive de-escalation training to deal with customers who refuse to wear masks. The fast food behemoth said it plans to take care of patrons who refuse to wear masks in a friendly, expedited way. You can see a list of stores that have mandatory mask policies here. We're not going to go visit that right now, but here's the thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And, you know, the whole COVID thing is full of contradictions. Like, it's okay, you have to have a mask to enter a restaurant, but then you're allowed to take it off to eat. So why have it on in the first place? Does that make sense to anyone? Doesn't make any sense to me. But then none of this does. And it makes less and less sense every day. Okay, now let's go on. Let's look at this. This is going to be interesting as well. FDA approved, DARPA-funded, under-the-skin biosensor to detect signs of illness. Oh, goody. What could go wrong? Nothing, I'm sure. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, approves a lot of prescriptions and products that are eventually proven to be harmful, sometimes catastrophically harmful. The agency has even been blamed for the opioid crisis by some very credible people. Activist Post reports regularly about the agency's mishaps, mistakes, and shenanigans. So should we be concerned about them being in charge of approving an under-the-skin biosensor to detect symptoms like those found with COVID-19? And this is from Government Gov Exec Daily, published March 4th, 2020. A military-funded biosensor could be the future of pandemic detection. If it wins FDA approval next year, the 2-part sensor could help spot new infections weeks before symptoms begin to show. Why are pandemics so hard to spot? Often because the disease moves faster than people can be tested for it. The Defense Department is helping to fund a new study to determine whether an under-the-skin biosensor can help trackers keep up by detecting flu-like infections even before their symptoms begin to show. In its maker, Profusa, says the sensor is on track to try for FDA approval by early next year. The sensor has 2 parts. One is a 3mm string of hydrogel, a material whose network of polymer chains is used in some contact lenses and other implants. inserted under the skin with a syringe. The string includes a specially engineered molecule that sends a fluorescent signal outside the body when the body begins to fight an infection. The other part is an electronic component attached to the skin. It sends light through the skin, detects the fluorescent signal, and generates another signal that the wearer can send to a doctor, website, etc. It's like a blood lab on the skin that can pick up the body's response to illness before the presence of other symptoms, like coughing. The announcement comes as the United States grapples with COVID-19, a respiratory illness that can present in flu-like symptoms such as coughing and shortness of breath. The military is taking a leading role in vaccine research. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Milley told reporters at the Pentagon on Monday, "Our military research labs are working feverishly around the horn here to try to come up with a vaccine. So we'll see how that develops over the next couple months," Milley said. U.S. troops themselves are also at risk. A U.S. soldier in South Korea became the first U.S. service member to contract the virus. The Wall Street Journal reported in February. Profusa's newest funded study, which the company announced on Tuesday, will test how well the sensor can detect influenza outbreaks up to 3 weeks before it's possible to detect them using current methods. Because the gel doesn't actually emit any signal, it wouldn't give away a soldier's position, so the sensor could be used in sensitive settings like behind enemy lines, Profusa CEO Ben Huang said. Why do they always want to test on our soldiers and our military? Why? Huang said the company has received grants from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, since around 2011. They gave us grant money to help our research, and as we prove out a certain milestone, as we de-risk the technology, they give us second phase and third phase and provide support, he said. Their support has transitioned from grants into these types of programs that create real-world evidence. Huang said DARPA is helping the company reach out to other outfits within the Defense Department that might use the device on troops or service members. That could include partnership with U.S. Special Operations Command, for instance, or Indo-Pacific Command. He declined to comment on conversations with specific military customers. Are you now creeped out and freaked out as I am? And here we've got Bill Gates Foundation's working with DARPA on gene editing. Bill Gates partners with DARPA and Department of Defense for new DNA nanotech COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah. So there's a lot of information here, and I'm going to give you the name of this website. I just found this website. Humans Are Free. Now, I'm not saying that I endorse everything that's on here because I've just found this and I haven't read everything yet, but I am planning to go through the articles because I think that there's a lot of good information here. So it's humansarefree.com, humansarefree.com if you want to check it out for yourself. And apparently there's some documentaries here as well. That one looks interesting. David Icke, how the elites have pulled off the pandemic. So yeah, there's conspiracy, finance, forbidden history, spirituality, cosmos, and they could be into weird spirituality. I don't know. I don't know what they're into, but this article was very, very interesting, so I thought I'd bring that to you. And you can check the rest of it out on your own, as you wish. Okay, let's go back. Now, I think I'm going to leave that one for now. I'm trying to, yeah, this is disturbing to me, and I'm sure that a lot of you have probably already seen this, but in case you haven't, adults have Portland toddlers hold anti-cop signs and repeat, "F the police." Toddlers. Yeah. Adults in Portland appeared to have toddlers hold anti-cop signs and repeat "F the police" for a bystander recording the moment as the city continues to descend into chaos on a nightly basis. This is from Breitbart News. Journalist Andy No, who has firsthand experience with violent Antifa riders in Portland, shared a video on social media showing a group of adults walking with toddlers who were holding anti-cop signs reading "F the police" and "F Trump's goons. Show them your signs. Say F the police, an adult in the background told the children, who innocently repeated the phrase. Yeah, I'm going to play this, but it's disturbing. So I'm just telling you in advance, there's bad language, etc. But it's...
There. All right. What is it? All right. Say, can you do this? Thank you.
Now, that's disturbing for many, on many levels. Many levels. Yeah. Protesters in Portland coaching their small children to say F the police and make them carry signs with that and other very classy slogans. Yeah, said sarcastically, of course. These parents should be ashamed of themselves, said Donald Trump Jr., and they should. Imagine, and the little girl sounds so sweet. She said, say F the police. Well, I don't know, it could have been a boy, I don't know, but, and just so innocently. Just, how can you corrupt a young mind like that? Really? It just makes me feel ill. All right. And Portland saw another night of violence on Thursday evening after a crowd of over 1,000 gathered outside of the Justice Center and federal courthouse, according to a statement from the Portland Police Bureau. Several protesters set fire within the fence that surrounds the courthouse and breached the area, prompting a response from federal law enforcement. Now, this is kind of old news by now, but I just wanted to be sure that everyone saw that, because I think it's very telling, very telling. And yeah, so let's go back now and see what else we can get into. Yeah, this is very interesting as well. Tiny island contains clues about whether or not Earth's poles are about to flip. Well, I got news. The poles they're in the midst of a flip. They've been moving steadily every year. So, yeah, I mean, it's not just going to flip like all of a sudden. It's going to flip like it's doing. And it's going to bring about dramatic Earth changes. I personally am one that believes that there is a pole shift, and it's not the first one that's occurred on this Earth, because otherwise you wouldn't have, finding things in a desert like seashells and so forth. I mean, this Earth has gone through cataclysmic changes before. I think that is probably what happened to the dinosaurs. Anyway, let's take a look at this. Geologists from around the world began expressing concerns about the state of the planet's magnetic field last year amid the rapid move of the magnetic North Pole out of the Canadian Arctic toward Russia. And that is happening. That's a fact. Earth scientists from the University of Liverpool's geomagnetism. I'm sorry. Sometimes I have trouble with words. I know them, it's just I can't get them out. Laboratory have discovered that the South Atlantic anomaly, the area between South America and Southern Africa where the magnetic field is significantly weaker than anywhere else on planet, has likely been that way for millions of years and therefore probably isn't a sign of coming reversal of the planet's magnetic poles. In an article in the peer-reviewed proceedings of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences journals, researchers studying volcanic rocks from St. Helena, a remote island in the South Atlantic in the center of the anomaly that's best known as the place where Napoleon Bonaparte was exiled in 1815 after the Battle of Waterloo. Studying samples of cores of volcanic rocks from the island, which preserved within them grains of magnetized iron oxide that show the direction and strength of Earth's magnetic field at the time they were formed, the researchers discovered that this particular region of the planet seems to have had an unstable magnetic field for millions of years and not merely centuries, which would indicate the possible start of magnetic reversal. The Liverpool researchers' findings are significant since a magnetic pole reversal estimated to have taken place every few hundred millennia over the past 200 or 20 million years and last occurring about 780,000 years ago might have major consequences for human civilization, potentially weakening the world's natural magnetic shield and leaving humanity's electrical power grids, not to mention our flesh-based bodies, vulnerable to solar flares and other space-based phenomena. First discovered in 1958, the South Atlantic anomaly has long been seen as a potential problem area for man-made infrastructure with satellites and other spacecraft which pass through the region, effectively entering the Van Allen radiation belt and becoming bombarded and poor grammar again, by strong doses of radiation, leading to glitches and the premature wear and tear of equipment, according to NASA. The so-called reverse flux patch at the core mantle boundary in the South Atlantic, which leads to the irregular external magnetic fields, is also known to have grown in size over the past 2.5 centuries. But what's causing the anomaly? In an article in The Conversation, Dr. Andrew Biggin of the University of Liverpool and PhD candidate Yale Annemaek Engbers, sorry, the names sometimes too much, 2 of 3 authors of the new PNAS study explained that there are 2 possible causes for the South Atlantic anomaly. Underneath Africa, there's a large feature in the lowermost mantle where the waves move extra slow through the Earth, meaning there's most likely an unusually warm region of the lowermost mantle. This probably causes a different interaction with our outer core at that specific location, which could explain the strange behavior of the magnetic field in the South Atlantic, the researchers note. But there's another possible culprit, according to Biggin and Enbers, the Earth's inner core. This solid feature is slowly growing, but not at the same rate everywhere. There is a possibility that it is growing faster on one side, causing a flow inside the outer core that is reaching the outer boundary with the rocky mantle just under the Atlantic hemisphere. This may be causing irregular behavior of the magnetic field on the long timescales we found on St. Helena, the scientist explains. The Liverpool University, I hate when it does that. The Liverpool University scientists findings are good news for those fearing an imminent flip in the Earth's magnetic poles. Last year, researchers from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the British Geological Survey updated the coordinates of the magnetic North Pole a year ahead of schedule after finding that it was leaving the Canadian Arctic and moving towards Russia's Siberia at a rate of over 55 kilometers per year, up from less than 15 kilometers per year in 2000. Scientists have sought to calm fears, assuring that a pole flip wouldn't be taking place anytime soon and would take as much as 1,000 years to complete when it does happen, thereby hopefully mitigating any negative impact. Well, I do believe that a pole flip is happening, and I do believe that it's slow, but I think that we are seeing the effects and the Earth changes already. So, you know, we may not see the pole flip in our lifetime, but, you know, we'll see the effects of it beginning to happen, I believe. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys think? I happen to believe that there is a pole shift happening. I really do, because, you know, it's moving. The magnetic north is moving. Nobody denies that. It's a fact. So why is it moving? Yeah, that's the question. All right. Now, let's come down here. Now, this is Christopher F. Rufo. He says Seattle is quickly moving forward with its plan to abolish prisons. Yes, you heard that correct, and that is true. They want to abolish prisons. I've received a trove of leaked documents from within the King County Executive's office claiming that the justice system is a white supremacist institution that must be dismantled. It's explosive. Can you imagine if they do away with prisons? You think that life is hard now? You think that the cities are descending into chaos now? Wait till they let people out of prison that shouldn't be let out. Very frightening. All right. Yes, and let's look at this. Now we're almost at an hour here, so I think I'm going to stop after this and get this uploaded. And my back seems to be quite comfortable here, so I think I'm going to do another video on top of this one to try and catch up on some of this news. So this will be the last one we cover for this video. Major Hollywood studio orders AI-driven face mask detection robots. ROSA uses powerful AI software and sensors in a 180-degree field of view to enforce mask wearing. Can you believe that? A major Hollywood studio orders face mask detection robots this week that mount on walls in public areas. Artificial intelligence technology solutions published a press release Wednesday morning revealing a major studio in Hollywood, whose name cannot be disclosed due to non-disclosure agreement in place, purchased 2 robotic observation security apparatus units, ROSA, from its wholly owned subsidiary, Robotic Assistance Devices, RAD dealer GSG Protective Services Inc. in Los Angeles. According to RAD, ROSA is an AI-driven security system including both human and vehicle detection, license plate recognition, and complete integration with the RAD software suite notification and response library. So, and this is what this does. Meet ROSA, the world's first self-contained security and communication solution from Robotic Assistance Devices, featuring the launch of our in-house developed RAD site, which will enhance the human and machine collaboration between ROSA and your staff. Since ROSA is a compact package, it is easy to deploy at almost any location in 15 minutes, making it the fastest deployable security device on the market. ROSA includes RAD's AI-driven security systems, including both human and vehicle detection, license plate recognition, and complete integration with the RAD software suite notification and response library. So, let's see what this is. Human detection and autonomous response, vehicle detection, autonomous response, audio intervention, live stream to mobile app, perimeter intrusion detection, response and alerting, cellular optimized, no Wi-Fi required, cloud served, no hardware at client site, 20+ days recording of all video, 1-year event recording in cloud, audio talk down, snapshot audit, license plate recognition, requires specific positioning in RAD's Bolo Technologies platform, neon changing per customer, standard operating procedures, LEDs changing on customer standard operating procedures, whatever that's supposed to mean, standard 110 volt power requirement, 15-minute deployment time. So, woohoo! Yeah! Wow, isn't that good news? We're going to have robots watching over us now. How 1984-ish is that? Unbelievable. And what's this robot supposed to do? I guess it's supposed to tell you, you're not wearing a mask, and then start recording you. And probably send reinforcement. Who knows? It's crazy. It really is. Now, where were we here? So, yeah. Described as the ultimate autonomous response device, ROSA uses powerful AI software and sensors in a 180 field of view to enforce mask wearing. Wow. This is a game changer for us, said Corey English, COO of GSG Protective Services, the RAD dealer who sold both ROSA devices. Face mask enforcement in this environment is challenging, and the RAD lineup allows reinforcement of critical regulations that are in place for everyone's safety. Oh yes, it's all for our own safety, isn't it? Everything's for our safety. Without bias and without confrontation, English said. Steve Reinhardt, founder and CEO of RAD, said ROSA records violators and repeat offenders of those who fail to wear masks. The ability to record violators and particularly repeat violators gives high-profile end users, such as this one, options for enforcement and general security, said Reinhardt. It's great to see the first order specifically for this technology come within a very short period of time from when we announced it. As ROSA gains popularity in Hollywood, a much wider release of the wall robot is expected, due mostly because half of the country is now under mask requirement orders as virus cases and deaths soar. Corporations and local authorities cannot dedicate their time to mask-wearing enforcement as hot pockets of social unrest continue around the country. This is why elites will resort to the AI technology to monitor Americans and in some cases make sure they're wearing masks. Well, you know what I have to say to that robot? Mask this. I know. I won't do a hand signal because it's rude. All right. So there you go. So the press release didn't state if there were any consequences for mask offenders at the studio. Oh, I'm sure there are. Okay, well, I'm going to stop now because I think I've been going about an hour now, maybe a little over. And I'm going to get this uploaded because it'll take a long time to process, as we all know. And in the meantime, I will be recording another video. It may not be as long as this one. Well, who knows? But I'll be back. All right. So thank you guys for listening and for bearing with me during my back issues. So I'm gonna be here now that I can at least sit up again without excruciating pain. I'll be here doing my videos. So I will wish you all a good night. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Thanks for all your support, encouragement, your prayers, your comments, all very much appreciated. Good night, guys. I'll see you in the next video.